Why do we fail? Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. When someone offers them a cigarette, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." He still identifies as a smoker, just trying to change his actions. The second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." He has changed his identity, so taking a cigarette no longer fits who he is. The second person is much more likely to succeed. Through such magical stories and examples, we will learn how to easily distance ourselves from bad habits and build powerful ones to join the ranks of the world's top 1%. These 20 chapters will simplify the science of habits for you. The massive power of tiny habits. Friends, we often think a massive revolution is needed to change our lives. But James Clear's book will teach you how a mere 1% change can transform your life like magic. These 20 chapters will simplify the science of habits for you. Introduction. You will learn why small habits are as powerful as atoms in your life. Chapter 1. You will learn why fixing the system rather than the goal is the real key to success. Chapter 2. Discover how your habits create your identity. Chapter 3. Learn the scientific 4-step habit loop that works for everyone. Chapter 4. Learn how to identify and gain control over your current habits. Chapter 5. Learn the magical strategy of setting time and location to start new habits. Chapter 6. Understand how your environment shapes habits in your subconscious mind. Chapter 7. Discover the secret of self-control, how to stay away from temptation. Chapter 8. Learn how to make a difficult habit attractive to quit. Chapter 9. Discover how deep the role of family and friends is in shaping your habits. Chapter 10. Learn how to make bad habits painful to your mind to quit them. Chapter 11. Understand why taking one small action is more important than endless preparation. Chapter 12. Learn the law of least effort, how to make habits as easy as flowing water. Chapter 13. Learn the famous 2-minute rule that helps you beat procrastination. Chapter 14. Discover how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Chapter 15. Learn the first rule of habits, how to get instant satisfaction after finishing a task. Chapter 16. Find the correct method to track or measure your daily progress. Chapter 17. Discover how an accountability partner helps you stick to your habits. Chapter 18. Learn how to choose the right habits that align with your genetics. Chapter 19. Discover the Goldilocks rule, how to stay focused by avoiding boredom. Chapter 20. Finally, Chapter 1. The surprising power of atomic habits. In this chapter, the author provides a real-life example, the story of the British cycling team. After 100 years of failure, they improved small things like seat comfort and tire friction by just 1%. Within a few years, they won consecutive gold medals in the Olympics and the Tour de France. This will completely change your perspective on life. The author demonstrates that the consistency of small changes is far more powerful than taking massive steps for big transformations. The core essence is 1% better every day. If you improve yourself by just 1% every day, by the end of 1 year, you will be nearly 37 times better than you are now. Conversely, if you get 1% worse every day, you will decline almost to zero after a year. Goals versus systems. The author shares a revolutionary insight. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Goal, this is what you want to achieve, say losing weight. System, this is the process that gets you to the destination, e.g. daily eating habits and exercise. Both winners and losers have the same goals, but only those with better systems succeed. The compounding effect. Just as money grows through compound interest in a bank, habits work the same way. A small good habit, say reading one page a day, shows no immediate impact, but after a few months, it builds a massive storehouse of knowledge. The author calls these atomic habits. The plateau of latent potential. Often, we give up when we don't see results after a few days of effort. The author calls it the valley of disappointment. He explains that just as ice doesn't melt until it reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit, even though the temperature was rising internally, your habits are accumulating energy beneath the surface. One day, you will suddenly see a massive breakthrough. Simple explanation. Simply put, eating an apple today won't give you six-pack abs tomorrow. However, the habit of eating that one apple might save you from a heart attack 10 years from now. There is no miracle behind big success. There is only the determination to do small, correct things day after day. Friends, the first chapter teaches us your current status doesn't matter as much as the direction of your habits. Are you building yourself up bit by bit, 1% at a time, or are you heading toward decline? Remember, stop dreaming of overnight success. The massive palace of success is built with small bricks. Start your 1% journey today. Chapter 2. How your habits shape your identity. In this chapter, the author highlights a profound truth. Most of the time, we try to change our habits the wrong way. We focus on what we want to achieve, outcome, but we don't think about who we actually are, identity. This second chapter of Atomic Habits is a personal favorite of mine because the author explains why habit change is so difficult for people and how it can be made easy. The core essence: identity-based habits. The author states there are 3 layers of change: changing results, outcomes such as losing weight or writing a book; changing process such as going to the gym every day or writing one page daily; changing identity such as believing yourself to be a health-conscious person or an author. Why do we fail? Imagine 2 people trying to quit smoking. When someone offers them a cigarette, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." He still identifies as a smoker, just trying to change his actions. The second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." He has changed his identity, so taking a cigarette no longer fits who he is. The second person is much more likely to succeed. Habits are votes for your identity. The author shares a brilliant concept. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. If you read one page of a book every day, you are proving to your mind that you are a reader. If you exercise every day, you are proving that you are an athlete. You don't have to be perfect, you just need to cast more votes for your desired identity than for the opposition. The 2-step process to change your identity. How do you change your identity? Step 1. Decide the type of person you want to be. Step 2. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Simple explanation. Simply put, if you want to be a great guitarist, it's not enough to just learn to play. You have to think, "I'm a musician." A musician practices every day. It is their nature. When your habit becomes part of your identity, you no longer have to force yourself to do it. It happens naturally. Friends, the second chapter speaks of an extraordinary power. Every action you take is nourishing your identity. Are you voting for laziness or for success? From today, don't just set goals, decide what kind of person you want to become. Remember, big changes start from within. Believe in your new identity and turn that belief into reality through small actions. Chapter 3. The strategy for building habits in 4 simple steps. In this chapter, the author explains why our brain creates habits. Our brain always wants to save energy, and a habit is a method that makes a task automatic. Chapter 3 is the blueprint of habits. Here, the author teaches that a habit is not a mysterious matter, rather it is a scientific cycle. The habit loop. James Clear has divided habits into a cycle of 4 steps. Cue, something that triggers your brain to start an action, for example, the sound of a phone notification. Craving, the desire or pull behind that action, for example, the urge to know who sent the message. Response, the actual action you perform, for example, picking up the phone. Reward, the satisfaction or pleasure you get after performing the task, for example, satisfying your curiosity by reading the message. Why is understanding this cycle important? If any of these 4 steps are missing, the habit will not be permanent. Without a cue, the task will not start. Without a craving, you will have no motivation. If the response is too difficult, you won't do it, and if the reward is not satisfying, the brain will not remember it. The 4 laws of behavior change. From these 4 steps, the author has created 4 infallible laws for building good habits and breaking bad ones. Make it obvious for the cue, make it attractive for the craving, make it easy for the response, and make it satisfying for the reward. For breaking bad habits, these laws will be exactly the opposites. A tool for problem solving. Habits are actually a solution to various problems in our lives. When you are tired, watching YouTube is a solution for fatigue to your brain. When you understand this loop, you can reprogram your brain. Simple explanation from me. To put it simply, when we enter a dark room, we reach for the switchboard without even thinking. Here, the darkness is the cue, and getting light is the reward. Every major habit in your life works this way. If you want to be successful, frame the tasks necessary for your success within these 4 steps. Friends, Chapter 3 introduced us to the skeleton of habits. Chapter 4. The Man Who Didn't Look Right. At the beginning of this chapter, the author tells the story of a paramedic or nurse who, just by looking at someone, realized they were about to have a heart attack, even though the person had no obvious symptoms. This was a type of automatic habit or intuition developed through years of experience. This 4th chapter will turn you into a detective of your subconscious mind. Often we don't even know why we repeat certain actions. This chapter will clear that darkness. The core essence. Awareness. We perform nearly half of our daily actions subconsciously, without any thought. Before changing a habit, you must know what your current habits actually are. The Habit Scorecard. The author provides an excellent strategy. Create a list of all your small and large actions throughout the day, from waking up in the morning until going to sleep at night. Now, mark each action with a symbol. Plus, good habit, something that helps your new identity. Minus, bad habit, something that harms you. Equals, neutral habit, such as brushing your teeth or putting on shoes. Pointing and calling. Japanese train drivers use a method where they point at every signal and say out loud, "The signal is green." This reduces their error rate by nearly 85%. The author suggests that when you are about to engage in a bad habit, tell yourself out loud, "I am eating this bag of chips now, which will harm my health." This makes your subconscious mind conscious. Why is this necessary? Often we start a bad habit by saying, "just this once." But when you identify it in your diary or in your mind, the pleasure of that action decreases and your control returns. Simple explanation from me. Simply put, just as we stumble in the dark, we nurture many wrong habits when we are unaware. This chapter is like shining a flashlight on your life.
Only when you know how many times a day you check your phone or how much idle time you spend can you actually change it. Friends, Chapter 4 stands us in front of a mirror and asks, do you really know how you are spending your day? Grab a pen and paper today and account for all your actions from morning to night. See which habit is building you like a king and which one is making you destitute. Remember, what you cannot identify, you cannot conquer. Start calling out your life signals out loud today.
Chapter 5. The best way to start a new habit. Most people think they lack motivation or willpower to start a new habit. But what they actually lack is clarity. They know what they want to do, but they don't know exactly when and where to start. This 5th chapter is going to be the most effective for you because it teaches how to start a new habit without depending on willpower or motivation. The core essence: implementation intention. Research has shown that those who plan specifically are 2 to 3 times more likely to succeed. Your plan will look like this: I will, behavior, at, time, in, location. Habit stacking. This is one of the best strategies in this book. Our brain already has many strong neuronal connections, like drinking coffee or brushing teeth every morning. You will pair your new habit with these old habits. The formula is: after current habit, I will new habit. Examples: after I drink my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I return from the office, I will immediately change into my gym clothes. Why does this work? Your brain does not feel the need to think anew. Your old habit acts as a cue for the new habit. This way, you don't have to repeatedly remind yourself what to do. When the plan is clear, victory is certain. James Clear says, many people think they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. When you have a written, clear plan, such as sitting in the bedroom at 9 p.m. to read 10 pages of a book, your brain finds no room to make excuses. Simple explanation from me. To put it simply, just as train compartments are linked to one another, arrange your life with the compartments of habits. One task ends, and that becomes the signal for the next. This makes life much easier and more disciplined. Friends, Chapter 5 taught us that success is not a random event, it is a well-planned system. Write down in your diary today which old habit you want to link your new dream to. Stop saying, I will try, and start saying, I will do it at this exact time, in this exact place. Remember, clarity is power. The clearer your plan, the easier your victory will be. Chapter 6. The importance of environment. Environment is greater than motivation. In this chapter, the author tells the story of a doctor named Anne Thorndike who changed the eating habits of people in a hospital canteen without saying a word. She simply placed water bottles next to the Coca-Cola in the refrigerators, and water sales increased by 25%. This is called choice architecture. This 6th chapter will open your eyes. We always think that to be successful, we need a lot of willpower or motivation. But the author says your surrounding environment actually controls your destiny. The core essence: make the cues visible. Design your world. Humans are primarily driven by visual cues. Whatever you see more of in your environment, your brain will lean toward doing that task. Visibility versus invisibility. For good habits, keep the cue right in front of your eyes. E.g., if you want to drink more water daily, always keep a filled water bottle on your table. If you want to learn guitar, don't keep it in the closet. Place it on a stand in the middle of the room. For bad habits, make the cue invisible. E.g., if you want to reduce mobile addiction, keep the phone in another room. If you want to watch less TV, hide the remote in a drawer. One space, one use. The author suggests assigning a specific task to each space. Let your bed be only for sleeping. Do not work while sitting there. Let your dining table be only for eating. When you go to a specific spot, your brain automatically prepares to perform that specific task. This is called creating context. Willpower is a limited resource. It is very difficult to fight your willpower all day long. It is much easier to create an environment where you don't have to fight at all. The author says the most self-controlled people are often those who need to use their self-control the least because their environment is well organized. Simple explanation from me. Simply put, if you go to a drugstore, you will feel like buying medicine. If you go to a fast food shop, you will feel like eating a burger. Design your home and workplace in such a way that doing good work becomes the easiest option for you. Friends, Chapter 6 reminds us you are not the victim of your environment, but rather you are the architect of your environment. Look at your room today. Is your surroundings calling you toward laziness or towards success? Arrange the cues of good habits in front of your eyes and send the temptations of bad habits to the other side of the wall. Remember, when the environment changes, the person changes.
Chapter 7: The Secret to Self-Control. In this chapter, the author discusses a study revealing that people known for having the most self-control actually spend very little of their time fighting temptations. In other words, it's not that they have more motivation, but rather that their lifestyle is structured differently. This 7th chapter will provide a major shock to your conventional thinking. For those of us who believe successful people possess immense willpower, this chapter reveals a significant secret. The core essence. The best way to break a bad habit is to remove its cue. The author states that once a habit is ingrained in your brain, it is nearly impossible to forget it completely. You can only suppress it, but it will resurface as soon as the opportunity arises. Therefore, fleeing is wiser than fighting. The author explains that willpower is a short-term solution. It is useful in emergencies, but it is not effective for long-term habits. If you sit in front of the TV every day telling yourself, "I won't watch TV," eventually you will get tired and flip the switch. Cut the cues of bad habits. In Chapter 6, we learned to make good habits visible. Here, the author advises making bad habits invisible. If too much time is wasted on your phone, work with the phone in another room. If you feel you are eating too much junk food, don't buy it at all when you go grocery shopping. If you feel you are playing too many video games, unplug the console and put it inside a bag in the closet after every session. The power of environment. James Clear shares a powerful sentence. You can break a habit, but you're unlikely to forget it. When you repeatedly face temptation, your brain reminds you of the old rewards. Thus, the real secret to self-control is not putting yourself in situations where self-control is required. Simple explanation from me. To put it simply, it is better to stay away from fire than to fight it. We often think, "I am very strong and I can handle temptation," but our primitive brain loves to surrender to temptation. So instead of trying to prove you are a hero, clean up your surroundings so that no enemy or bad cue can disturb you. Friends, Chapter 7 taught us heroism does not lie in fighting temptation, but in avoiding it. Stop blaming yourself today for having low willpower. Instead, look at your environment. Find the sources of your bad habits and make them invisible in your life. Remember, the most disciplined people are those who keep themselves away from temptation.
Chapter 8: How to Make a Habit Irresistible. This 8th chapter will teach you how to trick your brain into making even difficult tasks enjoyable. It is based on the second law of behavior change: make it attractive. In this chapter, the author explains the role of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Our brain finds more pleasure in the anticipation or hope of a task than in the actual pleasure received after doing it. In other words, it is the craving for the reward rather than the reward itself that motivates us to act. The core essence: temptation bundling. This is a strategy where you link a task you need to do, something productive, with a task you want to do, something you love. The formula for temptation bundling, the formula is very simple. After habit I need, I will habit I want. Examples: while exercising, I will watch my favorite Netflix series. After sending out my pending office emails, I will scroll through Facebook for 10 minutes. Why does this work? Your brain stops viewing the difficult task as a punishment and starts seeing it as a ticket to the enjoyable task that follows. When you know that exercising is the only way you get to watch your favorite show, working out becomes much more attractive. The science of creating craving. The author states that if a habit cannot increase your dopamine levels, it will not last long. Our primitive brain always runs towards easy and fun tasks. Therefore, if you want to achieve a big goal, tie every small step of that journey to some kind of reward. Simple explanation from me. To put it simply, remember when our mothers used to say, "Eat your vegetables first, then I'll give you chocolate." Temptation bundling is exactly that. You are telling your mind, do this hard work and then you get the treat. This reduces the pressure on your willpower and makes the habit irresistible. Friends, Chapter 8 has handed us a magic key. To overcome your laziness, make dopamine your friend. Identify your favorite form of entertainment today and pair it with your most important habit. When effort and enjoyment walk hand in hand, no one can stop your success. Remember, an attractive habit is a long-lasting habit.
Chapter 9. The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. In this chapter, the author highlights a profound truth. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Our habits are not just individual decisions, they are reflections of our social environment. The author demonstrates exactly how much we are influenced by the people around us. The core essence: social adherence. Humans are naturally wired to want to belong to a group. We find it safer to be wrong with a group than to be right and alone. Therefore, if the people around you are health conscious, you will naturally become health conscious without even trying. Whom do we imitate? According to James Clear, we quickly adopt the habits of 3 specific groups. The close, our family and close friends. We subconsciously learn what they do. The many, when we see everyone doing something like a social media trend, we tend to follow the crowd. The powerful, we want to be like those we respect or those who are successful, so we copy their habits. Strategy: join a group where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. The author says the best way to make habit change easy is to join a community or group where your desired habit, example, reading books, is common or considered a normal daily activity. You already have at least one thing in common with the members of that group, for example, supporting the same football club. Example, if you want to build a running habit, associate with friends who run every morning. To them, running isn't a difficult task, it's simply their lifestyle. The influence of culture. Our culture determines what we view as a reward. In some societies, hard work is honored. In others, socializing is prioritized. The culture you belong to will mold your habits into its own shape. Simply put, if you walk with 4 intelligent people, you will become the 5th. If you associate with lazy people, you will eventually become lazy too. If your goals are big, don't fight alone. Find a tribe or a team that is already walking that path. Friends, Chapter 9 stands us in front of a difficult mirror. Look at your friends. Are their habits leading you toward your dreams? Decide today which group you will be a part of. Remember, building a habit alone is as hard as climbing a mountain, but with the right friends, it becomes as easy as an enjoyable journey. Change your surroundings, and your life will change.
Chapter 10. Finding and Fixing the Causes of Your Bad Habits. In this chapter, the author reveals a deep psychological truth. None of our habits are actually designed to be bad. Every habit is an attempt to satisfy some primal need. This 10th chapter is essentially a strategy for mental warfare. Here, the author teaches that breaking a bad habit requires more than just brute force, it requires shifting your brain's perspective. The core essence, the mindset shift. The author states that when we smoke or scroll through social media to relieve stress, we are actually seeking peace. The habit itself isn't the problem is the method used to find that peace. Why do we get trapped in bad habits? Behind every habit, there is a surface level desire and a deeper underlying motive. For example, using Tinder, the primal desire for love or reproduction; playing video games, the desire for power or achievement; checking Facebook, the desire for social connection or belonging. Strategy: give your habits a new name. To quit a bad habit, make it appear unattractive. Change the way you talk to yourself. Instead of saying, I have to exercise, say, exercising gives me energy and keeps me healthy all day. This is for building good habits. For smoking, think, I'm destroying my lungs with toxic smoke and shortening my lifespan. This is to repeatedly remind yourself of the negative consequences. Motivational reprogramming. If you feel afraid before a difficult task, link that task to something very enjoyable. Suppose you listen to a specific song whenever you are very happy. From now on, listen to that song whenever you start a difficult task. Gradually, your brain will associate the difficult task with the joy of the song. Simple explanation from me. Simply put, we view our bad habits as rewards. For example, having a cigarette after a stressful workday feels relaxing. This thought is incorrect. In reality, nicotine increases your blood pressure and causes more anxiety. When you use logic to point out your own mistakes, your attraction or craving for that habit will decrease. Friends, Chapter 10 reminds us that your habits are not your enemies. Your perspective is what matters. From today, find the real reason hidden behind each of your bad habits. Remind yourself repeatedly that long-term peace is much more valuable than temporary pleasure. Change your thoughts and you will see how easy it becomes to change your habits. Remember, to be a winner, you must first win the battle in your mind. Friends, so far we have learned how the world of habits works. But did you know 95% of people in the world fail in the end even after knowing these 10 chapters? This is because they don't know how to transform laziness into 2-minute magic or how to use their genetics to find a shortcut to success. In the next 10 chapters, part 2, I will share a Goldilocks rule, without which all the knowledge you have gained so far might crumble like a house of cards. Will you stop halfway and return to your old ordinary life? Or will you change your destiny for once and for all by watching the second part? The decision is yours. See you in the second part, where we will learn how to make your habits permanent. If you miss part 2, you might just miss the greatest transformation opportunity of your life. Look at the screen. The second part has appeared. Click to start watching or find the link to part 2 in the first comment of the comment box.